Life Audio.
Today on Talk About That, John becomes an impromptu firefighter and turns my rental car story into a sermon illustration. Meanwhile, I get flagged at the airport and tell you the real reason It's a Wonderful Life became a classic. Plus a conversation about self-righteousness and the temptation to make the gospel about other, more sinful people when it's really about us. Today's episode is not sponsored by Cheerios, cereal for people who think Apple Jacks is just too flavorful. But first, a word from our actual sponsor.
It's Christmas time in Banter Town. It's your favorite podcast. Talk about that. Gather around the fire. Let's enjoy a little good company. Hot chocolate. Come on, Johnny.
Where's the fire?
We don't have a fire here.
Did you have a fireplace growing up?
We had a wood-burning stove in the first house I grew up in. And it's weird. I have this like core memory.
Okay. That's not the same, though, as like, you don't gather around a wood-burning stove, do you? Where was it?
In the garage.
John, that was an incinerator. You burned trash.
I don't know.
All the kids warming themselves like homeless people. What is wrong with you? I don't understand.
I don't know.
That's not a core memory.
The core memory was...
That's trauma. It's what you experienced.
I remember I went out. There was the door between the garage and coming into the kitchen had like glass panes.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I was just standing there looking out into the garage one day, and I watched like this ember come out of the wood-burning stove onto the rug, and the rug just explode into flames. As I ran yelling fire, my dad came and put
and
it
you
out.
happened to be looking.
I just happened to be watching.
Your whole childhood could have changed in that moment had
like
you not seen it.
It's the most Enneagram 6 thing ever. Like, I was there to stop the problems that could have happened.
But did it also lead you to believe that, like, I've got to stay vigilant for the rest of my life because there could be embers? You're watching for embers now everywhere.
I watch for everything all the time now.
Everywhere is an ember.
Yeah.
There's your next book.
Come on now. Isn't it, though?
Yeah.
I got to work on that.
One child's goal to stay vigilant against embers. And
it
is. It's always the ones you don't watch that ignite the rugs of our lives.
That's what they say. A watched stove is never...
Yeah. Yeah, that's
we don't really do aphorisms here.
So it was in the garage?
Yeah.
What was it warming? The cars?
Maybe it piped into the house or something. I don't know.
I don't either.
But you can't pipe. I mean, I was a kid. Maybe that wasn't a wood-burning stove. There was something out there that burned wood.
And
rugs.
Old animals that you... Hey, where'd Rusty go? He lives on a farm now, John. He can run and play.
My daughter showed me yesterday, her best friend, they had bought a goldfish at the fair. I want to say 3 years ago,
That's
maybe.
high quality
and
goldfish.
And the thing just now died.
Oh, man.
They kept one going from the fair.
That's a long life. I don't know the lifespan of a goldfish.
I don't know either.
Is that good
that
or
when
bad?
Sadie was little, her Uncle Greg, which you know, this is Laura's brother, he's kind of a jokester a little bit.
He's an impish person.
Yeah, it's very much like he just bought Sadie a goldfish for Christmas. I don't know, she was probably 4.
Was it more of a joke on you? Like,
yes.
Let me do this
so
to
I
John.
had to go to the store and buy a tank. I mean, I spent like $150 to get all this going for this goldfish. I'm like,
he probably gave $5 for the goldfish itself.
And Greg's very like, he's one of those guys, you always say, like, you never know if you're going to prank someone if they're going to go further than you're willing to go.
Yeah.
Greg's absolutely willing to go further than I'm willing to go.
So
I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to buy your kids a gerbil. He's like, that's fine. I'll just kill him. I'm like, or whatever. He just had like, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do that then.
Yeah.
So that goldfish died.
Yeah.
Sadie named him Harry.
Okay.
And so while she was, asleep or whatever, we went out and bought another one.
How old was Sadie when she got this?
3 or 4.
Wait a minute. So you just replaced it? You didn't want to... You're just like, it's too young for her to learn about death yet.
We weren't ready to tell her.
Yeah.
And then Harry 2 died.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Harry 3 died. Over the course of like 3 months, I think we had 5
Is
Harrys.
she learning about this right now as she listens to the podcast that there was more than one Harry?
We eventually had to tell her.
It's like, what's the dog, the Ugga for the University of Georgia? There's like Ugga 8 now.
Yeah.
Are they all descendants of the original Ugga? Or is it like just random, like, we found a bulldog that we can sedate for these games that takes the pills and doesn't mind the crowd noise. So he's Ugga 8, or is it like really he's literally Ugga 8 in the line?
That's a great question, because there's Smokey like 10, I think.
But I wonder if even Smokey, like, is Smokey just they found a a blue tick hound, right?
Yeah. What you're asking as if you don't know?
Well, I'm just trying to remember.
Well, if you're watching online, I'm wearing Tennessee attire today.
I'm starting to dread my show Saturday.
Jonnie W, everybody, has a show that he's so excited about. You need to. I'm
not dreading it. Here's the thing. I'm very excited about the show because I love performing, and I get to perform with my buddy Paul Aldrich, and I want you to go get tickets at JonnieW.com. But we booked the show like months ago before Tennessee was scheduled to be in the playoff, and now we have a playoff game. Literally, we're kicking off as I take the stage.
Yeah, we're both kicking off. While I'll be eating wings and nachos and watching the balls.
Trying not to watch us spot them 14 points like we did Vanderbilt.
What do you think? What's your prediction here? Because
I think it's going to be a close game.
Okay.
And I hope if we win the turnover battle, I think we win the game. I think it's going to be about we need a defensive stop. We need a turnover against them. I think Ohio State is equipped to beat us, and it's at Ohio State.
Right. At night in like
they have the right team to beat us. It's just a matter of can we
they're the most expensive team in football.
Oh, are they? NIL money?
Yeah. So they have the most money invested in a team, and they have the number one defense.
We got to be top 10, though. We're big NIL people.
Probably. But they're number one defense in all categories, and we're like number 3 defense in all categories.
Would you ever, if you ever had like money, like if you ever got like, whatever money, crazy money.
All right.
To where you're like, I've got all the money I could ever spend. Would you consider being in one of these NIL collective slush funds for a school? Like you went to UT, you're a proud alum. Mm-hmm. Would you be like, look, we're going to get that 5-star quarterback, and here's $2 million to go get him? Like, would you be that guy? Evil?
I think I would struggle.
The supervillain?
I don't think it's a supervillain thing. I mean,
it's just what it is now.
I mean, I've known people who could make that kind of and care about the university a lot. You know? I mean, he's not villains. See, here's the thing.
I do think it's affecting the sport, though. This idea of like entitlement and like kids. I think transfer portal's fine if there's contracts for these kids where they have commitments that they have to live up to as well. Not just like you didn't give me playing time, I'm going to Mississippi State, middle of the season.
I agree with that. I think most of them do. They have like if you want your full payout, you have to stay X number of years to get it. But,
what were you offered?
I will say this. I am not opposed to NIL.
Yeah.
And I know. I like this. This is, non-sports.
You just like fantasizing about having the kind of money to be an NIL guy.
One, we're the kind of school that NIL benefits. Yeah. We're reloading every year. We just got an offensive guard.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like we're definitely in that pipeline. We're getting the players,
I mean, in basketball,
it's just so weird to think about that like 5 years ago, you would have been run out of town for some of the stuff that just goes on in broad daylight now.
Well, now they gave Reggie Bush got his Heisman.
Yeah, got his Heisman back.
So, did you see in the Nissan commercial they brought him out of a cryo chamber? He was like, "Hey, so what's new?" It was so funny.
Yeah,
but I like this idea about NIL. Think of it like this: that $2 million you're referencing was already probably being made somewhere by the university. Now it's just being shared with the players.
Okay, sure. All right, you've changed my mind. Okay. Go ahead.
Wow, that was quick.
Do whatever you got to do. I don't know. It's fine. But it is important. Money is a thing. It's one of those things. And, money's important to us too, John. And we got to pay the bills. We have our own little collective around here. And we gather resources from time to time. Sometimes we use ads. And listen, that's fine. And we want to take a minute right now and hear from a few of our fine sponsors.
That was a good one.
You think that?
You did good.
After demonizing the NIL, so I'm like, meanwhile, we're in the pocket of whatever, Progressive Insurance or whoever it was.
I listened to our ads last week.
Yeah.
And I forget, obviously,
they
were great.
Are they apropos?
Yeah, I mean, they were all major,
that's good.
Major companies.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
I
think that they know we could advance their cause. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
With what we're doing.
Why would you not want to be a part of this growing brand?
Check out what's happening at Talk About That.
We're on a rocket ship.
There actually is a lot of cool stuff happening. And
so I have an update for my hurt story before we get into your quote.
We went to lunch and you held this.
I had a memory that because Curry was telling the story to somebody, because we went down for my niece's graduation. She graduated from Auburn. She is a pilot.
Yeah.
And couldn't be more proud. She graduated in 3.5 years from aviation school and at Auburn. And so I had heard War Eagle more times than I would ever want to hear it again at that graduation. But
War Darn Eagle.
War Darn Eagle.
Said it a lot.
Nobody said that part
really?
In the middle. They just said War Eagle a lot. But anyway, very exciting, and I'm so proud of her. But we were telling them that story because it had just happened. Well, I had just had this weird story on the road, and they were all just kind of like, what? And then Curry reminded me that when we were coming back that morning, because remember I had a morning flight. So if I'm updating people who didn't know, but I had my car confiscated in the middle of the night. Hertz got a hold of me, had to come get my rental car. No ifs, ands, or buts. Do not drive the car. Secure the car.
Yeah.
They acted like it was a lost and found issue. I went and looked. There's nothing in the car. So I was totally perplexed. Tyler from Hertz comes out, gives me the keys to another car and says, drive this one. He takes off in the car that I had, which was a Chevy Malibu. I think, wow, weird. So I slept my 3 hours. Then we get up and go to the airport at 4 a.m. because I have a 6 a.m. flight out of Branson Airport. So we're flying out, and I go through the metal detector. And Curry was reminding me of this part of it. I was like, oh, yeah, that is weird. So, you get randomed in the metal detector. Like every whatever random person goes beep, and you beep not because you're beeping, but because it's random. Now they have to do a little bit further screening on you. So they happen to grab my shoes. They go, we'll just scan your shoes with these swabs, and then you'll be on your way. I go, fine. My shoe's alarmed on the swab, and I forgot about that. And I go, then they go, hey, your shoes have alarmed. It's probably nothing, but we need to now see all of your stuff. So all my stuff came down the belt now, guitar. I hadn't had my guitar, but I had a bunch of stuff with me. So they had to go through all of our bags. It took like an extra 20 minutes because my shoes had alarmed, which started from a random thing in the metal detector, which had nothing to do with anything. But it made me think. So I asked him, I said, what could have made my shoes alarm? They're just my dumb Adidas tennis shoes. She goes, it could be anything. You walk across stuff, that could be the same kind of chemicals that you make explosives with. And I was like, what now? And for whatever reason, I put it out of my mind. But Curry goes, you were in that car.
Wow.
Maybe there was some kind of bomb-making material. I go, but here's the thing. If it was something that's a legal matter, why would the police have not been involved? It wouldn't have been like, let's send Tyler from Hertz to get the car. There might have been a bomb in the car.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's anything, but it is an interesting coincidence, right, that my shoes alarmed the day after being in that car. Huh?
I don't know.
By the way, I've heard back from Tyler a couple times since this.
Okay.
Because I have his text number now because it was his personal number that he finally got a hold of me through, not the Hertz number. So I now am connected to Tyler, and I bugged him a couple of times.
You're harassing him.
Basically saying, like, I need to know. And he says, no, I can't tell you. But I did say, hey, you told me you're going to give me some Hertz points, and I haven't seen them in my account yet. Because he offered me like some Hertz points for making.
And if you want me to keep quiet,
exactly. If you want to shut me up, here's what it's going to cost. No, I did say like, hey, it's Christmas, be generous. Because he said, well, I'll do something that'll be worth a couple of days. He told me a couple of days ago. He said, hey, we're digging deep. I'm doubling down. He goes, we're going to give you basically a free week.
Come on,
Hertz rental.
Wow,
it's like 5,800 points or something.
Makes me think there was a major explosive in that car.
And I said, I'll give you 10,000 Hertz points right now if you can just tell me what was going on in that car. But he won't. So that's the, but it's odd. Have you ever had anything alarm on you? Have you ever had a TSA experience where something randomly?
I've been randomly selected.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think I've
They
alarmed.
patted me down.
Well, that's
the
not
whole
true.
back of the hand thing where they go, I'll use the back of my hand when I go over your, unmentionables or whatever. And you're like, ooh, that doesn't help.
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah.
The back of your hand. So they're doing that, and people are standing in line watching. He's going like inside my waistband of my jeans and stuff, like doing that. I'm like, this isn't. But all that happened because I randomly was selected. But then the shoes made me go, what have I been walking on? Evidently dynamite powder or something.
Well, you walk through a construction site or something.
Could be. That's what they said. It said it could be nothing. And obviously they checked me through, and I made it home, and that's the story I'm sticking to.
I've had knives in my backpack that made it through.
That you didn't know were there.
Didn't know were there. And
Laura
then,
sneaks them in.
Yeah, she's crazy about knives.
She does that.
She is.
Juggles
them at home.
Loves to collect knives.
One time I showed up at the airport and reached in my pocket before I went through.
Yeah.
And I had a 9mm round in my pocket.
What in the world, John? You're not like a big. What was that?
I
had just done a contract killing, and then next thing I know, I got to fly to Austin.
I got this ministry conference.
What in the world? A 9mm round?
Yeah, we had been shooting. My dad and I went and got our.
But why were they in your pocket?
Is
that what you do?
I had that. You
just get a pocket full of bullets and then you just.
No, I don't know. I think I had one left over.
Load
in the
up your
clip
pockets,
or
John. We're heading out.
So I threw it away before I went through, obviously. But
really,
I mean, it's not like.
So somewhere in the trash, there's
I could have done anything with it. It was just a bullet.
That's true. Without the gun, you're like,
I will. At people.
There used to be an old Jake Johansson bit about that, a comedian from the 90s that I loved. Well, he's still around, but back in the 90s, he was on Letterman a lot. And he used to have this bit. He had a very stilted way of telling a joke. And he would say, guns don't kill people. People kill people. It's true, but guns make the bullets go really, really fast. I can't imagine like someone saying like, give me all your money or I'm going to push this into your head. Like, it's true. That's basically where you'd have been. You'd have been like, I've got this bullet.
Yeah, stand back.
I don't have everything I need.
Right.
But
I can't throw real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Well, but so you almost got, that would have been a mess, right? That would have held you up.
Probably. I don't know.
Back after 9/11, they were holding people up for like the nail clipper thing that would come out, the file thing.
Yeah.
They'd be like, we got to break this off.
It's like, and I get it.
Yeah, it's fine.
But I'm not, like, that's like a Steven Seagal thing to use something like that. Like, I'd be like, I wouldn't know what I'd do with this. If you gave me a real knife, I'm sure
I'm such a follower. I'm just like, whatever, take our freedoms. I don't care. There was a shoe bomber. Let's check our shoes for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't.
That's why your freedoms are eroding, John, because you're a sheep.
I actually have TSA pre-check, so I don't have to take my shoes off.
Well, I don't either, but that's what happened. I got randomly selected. I was walking through metal detector and got randomly selected, and then they said, we'll just check your shoes to be on your way. No, they didn't.
The only thing that's happened to me, we were in Dallas coming home, and the TSA agent was super mean and aggressive that was bringing us through the metal detector. I was like, come on, what are you doing? I was like, just super.
Right.
And it kind of rattled me a little bit just for a second, you know, and I forgot, because usually I check luggage. I only had a carry-on.
Yeah.
And I just walked away. I put my stuff through and I walked away, and I was with the staff, and we were down eating at the other end of the airport.
What do you mean you walked away?
I left my bag.
Oh.
At the thing to go through.
Oh.
I just forgot to pick it up because I'm used to not having to take it back. I grabbed my backpack, but I didn't get the suitcase.
Yeah.
And we were eating, and all of a sudden the phone rang, and it was Laura, and she was like, you left your luggage. And I guess somehow there was I think her number was on the bag, and someone from the airport called, and it was like, I ran to get it. And
they won't keep it long. They got to, because it could be a dangerous thing there.
Yeah, I'm not what you call like a smart person.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not responsible.
I'm glad I'm not doing a bunch of air travel like this week and next week, because like that's a crazy time. And for TSA, if you're a TSA person, which we know, you have a TSA person in your family.
Yeah, my nephew.
Your nephew's TSA, and like for years he's been. Does he like it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's good at it.
Okay.
I talked about that Sunday a little bit. I don't know. Everyone isn't. It's not I don't know if anybody grows up to want to be a TSA.
Aren't they one of the groups that's affected if there's like a shutdown, like they don't get paid, they get on furlough? Yeah. They're like, we'll pay you all of it when we come back.
Yeah.
You keep working, protecting us, and it'll be like the hose. We crimp the hose, and then there'll be no money, but then when we let it go, all the money will come all at once. You'll love it. And you'll be like, okay.
You're like, are you going to not get paid too?
Yeah.
Well,
no, we're just going to grandstand up here. Yeah.
Ours is, yeah. So that's why we're taking down the system. That's what this podcast is about.
Is it? You don't think we're part of the system? I don't know.
Hey, John, it's about that time.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's my quote of the week. A little segment we like to call They Talked About That.
I love my deep voice.
Tim Keller.
Yes.
Love the late Tim Keller.
May he rest in peace.
Oh my goodness! I mean,
the late great.
Without an understanding of the gospel, we will either be naively utopian or cynically disillusioned. We will be demonizing something that isn't bad enough to explain the mess we are in, and we will be idolizing something that isn't powerful enough to get us out of it.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah. We'll either be naively utopian or cynically delusioned. We'll be demonizing something that isn't bad enough to explain the mess we are in, or idolizing something that isn't powerful enough to get us out of it. I mean, it's hard to use the word gospel in conversations because, like, I grew up my entire life believing the gospel. And I remember when, I was probably in my mid-30s, and I began hearing people talking about a deeper understanding of the gospel, and there was so much pride in me that it was like, well, I can't, like, you don't understand. I have read the Bible more than anybody I know. Like, I know all these things. It was and I love God, and I'm serving God, and it was almost like a little offensive.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I really grasped the grace aspect, or began to grasp it. Like, now I believe, like, I'm constantly supposed to be going deeper into an understanding of the gospel. But But it was like those kinds of statements we've made before of, till I came to believe there was no one else in the world that needed grace more than I did.
Right.
Like that really was true. That I began to see the problem. And Regen, our 12-step program, really helped with that too. In terms of like when he says demonizing something that isn't really bad enough, like, there's this idea, I think, that sin, we don't say sin a lot in church anymore. There was years like I would say sin, but I would always say, and I still do, sin in its basic definition in the original languages means missing the mark, right?
Yeah.
But so when we talk about sin, I think I came to realize how much sin is in my life in terms of how much I miss the mark, not just because I'm intentionally doing something wrong. That is a part of it.
Right.
But just that the brokenness makes it in this sinful world and the state that I'm in this in between. I'm in this now and not yet. We talked about that Sunday a little bit, this now and not yet. So yes, I have, eternal life already within me. And also I'm not living in it in its fullness in the state that I'm in. And so when I became okay saying, yeah, man, my sin, then it opened up everything. Now I can forgive because I don't see their sin as any worse than mine. Like that's hard. Even if they did a thing you have a standard, right?
Yeah.
But you begin to not realize it until you recognize, oh, that's me. Like my sin was enough. But we always excuse the thing that we have. So I mean, that idea that I can't just demonize what other people are doing. They need the gospel, right? I have to realize, oh, what's bad enough is the death that is the sin that is in me first and foremost. And then because of that, I know I don't just need to get a little better while other people need to really be resurrected. Like, no, I need to be resurrected.
Yeah, when I'm getting ready to do some Sunday services at a church on the end of the year. And what I always talk about when I speak to churches, one of the things I talk about is that, like, growing up and being a self-righteous kid and the realizations I've come to over the years. And that's one of them is, like, we all need grace and we all need all of it. Like, it's not just this, like, he needs a lot of grace, I need a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like we all need it and we all need all of it. And so, and the other thing I always say is, like, you can't really love someone if you secretly believe they need Jesus more than you.
Yeah.
Like, you're incapable of really loving somebody if that's some underlying belief that you have. Well, yeah, God bless their heart, they really are far out, but I'm going to pull them up from where I'm at. You're like, when you realize that we're both in free fall without God.
Yeah.
One
of the deepest beliefs are biases, right? The ones you don't know that you have.
Yeah.
Or an unconscious bias. I guess you could know some biases you have. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know, right, that I believed that way. Mm-hmm. And you didn't know. And I think, I try to give the younger Johnnies and Johns there's some grace. I mean, hey, those guys are doing the best they could with what they had, right?
Yeah.
Where they were. Well, I was.
I want to punch him in the face.
But I mean, when you need something really powerful, right? And you stop thinking that this is just an improvement program.
Yeah.
And you stop just hoping in this life that you're living right now to be the thing that's going to fulfill you. When you realize, as C.S. Lewis said, right, if there's a need in me that this world can't fulfill, then I must not be made for this world, right? If you start to feel like I'm a sojourner here, I'm passing through, I'm on a journey, and this isn't how it's going to be or how it should be, like, because I need something bigger than what this world and what this life can offer. That actually brings hope, as opposed to like, I don't have to keep asking of this life what it can't give. I can't keep asking of money what it can't give. I can't keep asking of sex what it can't give. I can't keep asking of friendships. Like, I understand ultimate fulfillment can't come, but my flesh, if we're going to use that word, my sarx, it would be the Greek word, it always defaults back to that every day. I'll go chasing the things, right, that aren't powerful enough to actually get me out of the mess that I'm in. But I'll always believe they are until I come back. I have to wake up every day. It's almost like taking the red pill from the Matrix, like every day.
Yeah.
I have to keep taking it, or I'll just wake up in the Matrix again. That's interesting. What if we did a Matrix concept and you woke up in it every day?
Didn't you do a sermon one time where you talked about the washing of the feet and how Jesus said, like, he's going to wash the disciples' feet. And Peter said, like, wash my whole body then. If washing my feet means I get to be with you, then wash my. And Jesus, like, if you wash your feet, it's enough.
He said, he who has been cleansed only has need of their feet to be washed. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were talking about, I remember this, but you were talking about how, like, when even if you're not like in direct outrageous sin, you're walking around in this dirty world. And so your feet just get caught up in things. Yeah. Not unlike a Chevy Malibu, John. Won't it?
Some of y'all been setting off the spiritual alarms.
Some of y'all been randomly screened by the Lord.
And you're sitting there going, well, I don't know what I did.
I don't know. And he goes,
you've just been walking through
let's have a look at those feet.
You know all those problems you've been walking through?
And then he looks and he goes, this is an explosive problem you got.
Yeah.
And you need me.
You didn't even know you had it.
And you go, but I'm late. And he goes, I'm going to have to look through all your stuff now. And you go,
oh, no.
Oh, no.
And that's when he starts laying open bare all those things. That baggage you've been carrying.
All the baggage you've been carrying. He's looking through it.
I'm not going to lie. This is actually really good.
You're like, God, hilarious. And you're like, the next Sunday I won't be here and you'll preach it.
I'm absolutely going to use that.
He'd be like, I think it was Charles Spurgeon who said, I'd be like, that wasn't Spurgeon, that was me. It was W.
Oh, that's great. That's funny.
John, let's do my segments. Let's start with Johnny's old jokes. We call it Joke About That. John, two rednecks are out hunting, and as they're walking along, they come upon a huge hole in the ground. They approach it and are amazed by the size of it. The first hunter says, wow, that's some hole. I can't even see the bottom. I wonder how deep it is. The second hunter says, I don't know. Let's throw something down and listen, see how long it takes to hit bottom. The first hunter says, there's an old gearbox over there. Give me a hand and we'll throw it in and see. So they pick it up, carry it over, count 1, 2, 3, throw it in the hole. They're standing there listening and looking over the edge. They hear a rustling in the brush behind them. As they turn around, they see a goat come crashing through the brush, run up to the hole with no hesitation, and jump in head first. While they're standing there looking at each other, they gazing into the hole, trying to figure out what that was all about. An old farmer walks up. Say there, says the farmer, you fellers didn't happen to see my goat around here anywhere, did you? The first hunter says, funny you should ask. We were just standing here a minute ago, and a goat came running out of the bushes, doing about 100 miles an hour, and jumped head first into this hole. The old farmer said, well, that's impossible. I had him chained to an old gearbox.
I think you may have told this before.
I haven't.
I've heard this joke.
You've heard the joke? You probably heard it in an old, Southern preacher at a revival or something. It feels like one of those. Some of y'all are chained to a gearbox.
You've been thrown in a... Wait.
You've been thrown in a deep hole.
What we need is the goat. Okay.
All right, last one. This is a good one.
Johnny, he is the goat.
A man died, went to heaven. I like these kind of jokes. You ever remember these? St. Peter's at the gates. There's a million of these.
Yeah.
St. Peter says to him, before you meet with God, I should tell you we've looked over your life. And to be honest, you really didn't do anything particularly good or bad. We're not really sure what to do with you. Can you tell us anything you did that can help us make a decision? The newly arrived soul thought for a moment and replied, yeah, once I was driving along and came upon a little lady who was being harassed by a group of thugs, so I pulled over and went up to the leader of the thugs. He was a big, muscular guy with a ring pierced through his lip. Well, I tore the ring out of his lip, and I told him he and his gang had better stop bothering this old lady, or they would have me to deal with. Wow, that's impressive. When did this happen? About 3 minutes ago. Now you can tell me you heard that one too?
No, I haven't.
John, I know you're the comedy historian in the group. Oh, wait, that's me.
That's you.
All right, John, let's move on. Let's finish it up with This Week in History. We call it Talk About Then. John, this week, 1935, the $100,000 bill was first printed.
What year?
This was 1935, and it was they're gold certificates. They featured a portrait of who? Who do you think it was on the $100,000
in 1935? $100,000 bill. Hold on. Is it a president?
It is.
Okay. Is it a president from the 1900s or 1800s?
1900s, I believe.
Really? In 1935?
Yeah, I think so.
It's going to be Teddy Roosevelt.
Maybe I'm wrong. It was Woodrow Wilson. Was he 1800s?
No, he was.
Woodrow Wilson was 1900s, right?
Yeah, he was 19-teens.
So he got in. He was like, "Hey, can I get on the
Woodrow Wilson was on the $100,000 bill.
They were never circulated, but used internally by the Federal Reserve. So they're passing them back and forth between themselves. Gold certificates. It's an odd thing.
Is Theodore Roosevelt already on a piece of currency? Should I know that?
I don't know.
Woodrow Wilson.
Somebody's gonna call in with a.
Well, who.
How would you email the show, John, if you wanted to correct us, which people like doing?
You would send an email to hello@talkaboutthatpodcast.
All caps.
.com.
Hello, McFly. Also, if you want to get ad-free content and support the show, you can do that at talkaboutthatpodcast.com. You get all the archived episodes, over 300 episodes. If you want to click on that upper right-hand link, support the show, get ad-free content. John, this week, 1787, the third state was... now, do you know what the third state was?
Oh, jeez.
This is the anniversary.
Third state in 1787?
It surprised me. I don't think I would have gotten it because I always think of the colonies, Virginia.
Was Georgia?
It was New Jersey.
Okay.
New Jersey was the third state.
Huh.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, New Jersey and New York were,
I guess,
really early.
Have you been to New Jersey? It gets a bad rap. It's kind of like the redheaded, it's like the redhead stepchild.
It's easy to make fun of.
Well, it's one of those things of like, New Yorkers.
Yeah.
Jersey, these people.
Even Lin-Manuel Miranda makes fun of them.
Yeah, it's that thing of just...
In Hamilton.
It's got the bad reputation of just being a smelly, dirty, mafia-oriented place.
Yeah.
And some of that's true, but it's the Garden State.
Yeah.
Which is...
We all think of gardens.
Feels like an overcompensation happening there,
Or they've really transformed it since it was originally named.
Could be. John, this week, 1918, Robert Ripley's Believe It or Not comic strip debuted, featuring items of the strange and unusual. You ever been to Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum? We went. That was a big youth group thing you could do. Be like, look at this, the longest fingernails or whatever.
Yeah.
It originally featured sports feats and was called Champs and Chumps, but Ripley changed the name the following year. This is why I put it in the list.
It's a good change.
Because in 1929, one of its cartoons pointed out that America had no national anthem. This is 1929. The public outcry, because of this cartoon, led to the adoption in 1931 of Francis Scott Key's The Star-Spangled Banner, sung to the tune of an old English drinking song, which was called To an Anacreon in Heaven. So literally, the reason we have the national anthem that we have is because of Ripley's Believe It or Not cartoon.
Wow.
Because in the cartoon, they said, America doesn't even have a national anthem. And then it caused people, why don't we? And then people got so upset that they hurriedly threw some lyrics to an old English drinking song. And that's why we have...
What year was that, 22?
This was 1929.
29.
That
was a good year.
And then 1931 was when... So it took 2 years for the outcry.
So they're doing this in the beginning of the Great Depression. That's interesting. But also, see, Francis Scott Key's words were written in the War of 1812. So obviously that was a famous...
Yeah, I guess. But they just decided... Somebody decided to put it all together and be like, what if you put it all together and now...
Well, that's how... Like today is the feast day on Lectio 365 for Charles Wesley, who wrote 6,000 hymns.
Good grief. Come on now.
And so he wrote Angels, or Hark the Herald Angels Sing.
Oh, okay.
And so they were talking about the history of how he wrote that. And he wrote a different line, and his friend came along and told him he should change it to this. And then it was another person that put the music to it. And they were talking about the kind of the power of collaboration. So, things get changed.
That happened with... hold on, what's the most famous bad song ever in history was We Built This City on Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole article I read about that because it was named like the worst song ever. We built this city.
I can think of a lot.
Because first of all, it's full of all the synths. It's not really a rock and roll song, but it's like, we built this city on rock and roll.
I don't think that's even close to the worst.
Yeah, it is. We built the city on rock and roll.
It's not close to the worst rock song.
Oh, no, you're not close to the worst. Yeah. But anyway, they talked about like it had like 42 collaborators in that song.
Wow.
It was like it's an amazing number of people who just like, what about this? And so that's why it's so like scattershot and ridiculous. Like it's so kind of there's no linear thought in the song if you listen to the lyrics or read the lyrics. Anyway, that was finally, John, It's a Wonderful Life. Frank Capra's Christmas classic premiered this week, 1946, is accused immediately, and there's not included in the list because it's kind of interesting considering today's politics too. It was immediately accused of being a communist plot. Did you know that?
No.
I knew that it bombed because it's the most famous thing about the movie is that it bombed at the box office and was a commercial failure, and then it slowly built into being a classic, and now it's considered one of the greatest movies of all time, which took some time. Although it did poorly during its initial release, it is now one of the most popular films in American cinema, earning only $3.3 million against its $3.7 million budget. It caused the collapse of its production company.
Wow.
The only award it won was for its fake snow, so some kind of production award it won. In 1974, though, the copyright holder failed to renew the copyright, allowing TV stations to play it over and over without paying royalties, making the film a Christmas television tradition. So they were doing it just to get away with something, and so they played it ad nauseum, and so that's what happened. So from 74 to 93, when a U.S. Supreme Court ruling restored the film's copyright status to its original owner. NBC has since purchased exclusive rights to air it. So from 74 to 93, that's why we saw it every minute growing up as kids, because they could do it for free.
If they'd have picked anything, would we think it was the greatest movie?
We would think Ellen DeGeneres used to have a bit about that. She would say, It's a Wonderful Life bombed, and so it's Wizard of Oz bombed famously, and she goes, and now it's considered a classic. She goes, what if that's true of other movies and we just don't know it yet? What if Rambo 3 is good, and then they just start playing it every Easter? Like, we don't know. We don't know. That's true of like payola too. If you remember, like the 50s, all the hit songs, people were getting paid under the table to play those songs. So, did the best songs rise to the top? Or were we hearing those songs so much we're like, you know what? There's something about that song. It shaped
what we think about rock and roll or whatever.
Because you heard it all the time.
Interesting.
It's hard to know which one came first. But all that said, shortly after the movie's release, this gets to the communist part, the FBI issued a memo claiming the film was a potential, quote, communist infiltration of the motion picture industry, citing its attempts to make the banker the most hated man in the picture, a common trick used by communists. Okay. So this idea of demonizing the evil
This is the beginning of
banker,
McCarthyism, basically,
right?
in 46,
And like we're seeing it now a little bit where it's like you're seeing like broke people defend billionaires. It's like such a weird thing. It's like, I don't know, it's such an odd time to be alive. But and I'm not saying like money in and of itself is evil. I think it's kind of inert. The love of money obviously is the root of all evil. But it's like this idea that like this billionaire will come rescue us. I just think it's such an odd time. And everything being communist, everything being socialist and communist, like it just never ends. It's like the perfect thing to throw at somebody.
Well, essentially, Martin Luther King used to talk about it a lot. They would accuse him of being a communist. And if you even go back into the writings of lots of civil rights leaders, they would talk about that's just the easy, scary phrase to throw. And I'm not saying there are real communists. And even McCarthyism, they did discover a couple communist spies out of the hundreds of people's lives they ruined over the course of a long time, just because it gave them power, right, to make everybody scared.
But I just never knew It's a Wonderful Life was in that. They were
and that's
thrown
one of my
in.
favorites, man. I watched it last year and cried. Like, if I really go all the way to the end it's long.
Do you watch it with Sadie? Does Sadie get into it at all?
I haven't got her. I think.
Have you ever watched a black and white movie with her that she got into?
No, that's what I'm saying. This would be the only one that I could even try. And every year I think we're going to try it.
Well, there's a colorized version. You could go colorized version.
I don't want to do that. But then we end up going to Elf. So
okay,
and we laugh and enjoy ourselves.
Yeah,
there was that good movie with Will Ferrell, and it was called Spirit.
Oh right,
they put out last year.
It's kind of like a Christmas Carol.
Yeah,
kind of a
sort
thing.
of like that. We like. Have you seen Red One yet? I haven't either. But it looks kind of interesting.
Yeah, I've heard that it's like one of those like, why did they put so much language in it? Because it had been a perfect movie for kids, but they still managed to like, let's put F-bombs in it. And you're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you don't even know who your audience is at this point.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Hollywood, John, I tell you what.
I mean, we said war darn eagle.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? Just trying so your kids can listen.
Do you have any idea how much self-editing we do on this podcast?
You have no idea what kind of profanity we go back and pull out.
It's unbelievable.
Oh, my gosh. We're censoring ourselves.
That's what we do. That's what we do, because we care about you.
Hey, you should check out JonnieW.com. Make sure you go and see one of his shows. I got to see his show in the last, month? When was that? Early November?
Yeah.
It was so good. So good.
December 21st, you guys, if you're not watching the football game, come check it out. Columbia, Tennessee at the Packard Playhouse.
You know what I love about our friendship?
What's that?
You're not like upset with me at all that I'm staying home and watch the game.
I'm not upset.
You're
John.
like, that's what you should do.
In fact, I'll be on my way to your house the minute I get off stage to have a pig in a blanket.
Oh, my God.
And watch the fourth quarter of our triumph over Ohio State.
Listen.
I'm saying it. I don't even care.
Every time we've said it.
I think last second field goal, it goes in sideways knuckleball like the Alabama one.
The prettiest, ugliest kick of all time.
The crowd goes mild because Ohio State will have most of the fans there. And we're going to have a few travel. You think we'll travel okay? We'll travel okay.
Someone said they think it could be up to 30% of the stadium.
That'd be something.
You know, the Ohio State AD came out literally and tweeted, don't sell your tickets to the rabid Tennessee fans.
Yeah.
Rabid. He's right.
Yeah.
They will do that.
No, he's right. We have rabies. We have to be, please, quarantined.
Seriously, guys, we're from Tennessee. So. Hey, guys, thanks for all the time you gave us today. I hope you're having a Merry Christmas so far. We'll see you next week on
Talk About That.